Welcome to the welcoming, welcome to yourself, welcome, hopefully welcome to the peace, welcome to the beauty, welcome to the love, welcome to the sensitivity, and to our love for truth, which is really very beautiful. So, welcome.
So I'm actually watching it now. It's better to stay plugged into power.
So, as you know, there isn't much to say about truth, about the self, about the reality, because everything is it. Everything is the reality of the self. What appears, what doesn't appear, your inner world, the outer world, what we refer to as the inner world, meaning what we refer to as our thoughts, our feelings, and what we refer to as the outer world, meaning what we perceive. All of it is the self, all of it is what I am. I am all of that, and the truth is all of that. So, in a way, it's possible to perceive everything as revealing the reality of the self. Everything expresses fully itself. Everything appears in the transparency of being its own transparency, the transparency of the self. And so nothing is hidden, nothing is obscure. Oftentimes it may not seem that way. It may seem that there are a lot of things we don't know, and a lot of things that we need to know. That there are a lot of problems that we need to resolve. It may seem this way, and so we're troubled because we feel that we haven't gotten it yet. But we may get a flash of wisdom here and there that reveals to us that there is nothing lacking, that the way everything is appearing, there is a certain harmony to it. There is a certain order to it. There is it's as it needs to be. It's as perfect as it is. And then in those moments of this moment of insight, there are no problems. The body-mind is at ease. There's a a causeless happiness. So listening from a place of stillness, listening from the silence. We may wonder, well, where is the silence? How do I listen from a place of silence? And already it's like we're moving away from this pure being. Pure being is like, it's magical. Sometimes I say it's a gift from God. It's God's gift to itself. The beingness. You don't have to do anything to be. It's beingness is. And this beingness is a place of silence and stillness and peace. You know, between your concerns, between one concern and the next concern, there is the gap of beingness. And there is peace. There is a moment of peace between two concerns. And that's very beautiful. It's there. We know it without knowing it. In a way, we experience that, obviously, because we are there between concerns. But we are there not as a concern. We're there as beingness, as presence. And in a way, we know it because we are it. We are this beingness. But we don't know it as something that we can observe with the senses, or observe like we observe a thought, or like we observe a bodily sensation. We know it with the peace that we are. So it's a peace that knows itself. And without it, we would go nuts. It'd be like one eternal concern without any gaps. But actually, even when there is a concern that seems to be without any respite, without any gap, without any rest, even that concern is not occupying the entire space. It's very local. It's local. There is so much more besides that. The entire universe is at play. The vastness of the universe, the vastness of presence is also there. Because a concern also arises in presence. Because you are there to recognize the concern, to experience it. So presence is there, not just between one concern and another, but even throughout the entire concern, throughout the entire event. Presence is there. And what's so beautiful about presence is that it's effortless. You don't need to remember it or hold on to it, or actually maybe that's not true. Maybe initially we need to sort of remember presence, because we are so concerned, and then we forget about presence. So then we say, well, wait a minute, besides all my concerns, what else is going on? And when you ask that question, what else is going on, I don't mean what other concern is going on, or I don't mean what's happening in town, but what else is going on in my experience. So that's a good actually question to ask yourself, because ask yourself, what is, besides my concern, what's going on? And you will find that maybe you can find that there is awareness going on, and that's not a concern. So then you move just by noticing presence. You find that presence also notices you. And presence is peace. It's it has no borders. You can't lose it. I mean, you may forget about it for a while when you're thinking about, you're more interested in the thought, or maybe you need to be interested in some activity. So you may for a moment sort of overlook presence, look in the other direction, look into the world's direction out of necessity. But I find that it's possible to do both, to be both in the activity, engage in the activity, and at the same time to be aware that you're aware, like aware of presence. You have to try it and see. Maybe it's something that needs to sort of grow for you. It has to ripen for you. It has to develop for you. But it's possible to have both engagement in the world, body, mind, and at the same time the peace and the fullness of presence. Anyways, as you know, you are welcome to ask whatever questions you may have, besides my rambling about. But you're welcome to pose whatever questions you have, so we can address what you're looking at, or what's happening in your life, what's a question for you right now, you see. Although bulk of our meeting is below the radar. It's a meeting of love, and that's a meeting of oneness, of wholeness, which is really beautiful. You can sense it. You can sense it in, I guess, in your heart, in your beingness. And let me know if I'm speaking too low, because sometimes I do, but I don't know how you are hearing it. So
sound is perfect.
Okay, great. So if you have any questions, yes. Hello, Isaac. Isaac,
Hello,
you're right. Hello, Isaac. Yes. You're right, Isaac. Last week you talked about neutral sensations. Yes. Could you tell us more about neutrality? Yes. 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 What I mean by a sensation at in its purest state, in its naked form, is neutral. I mean, it hasn't yet become a mine. It's not happening to me. It's not. It hasn't yet become a feeling. It hasn't yet become an emotion. So, like, if you look at an itch, for example, you may have a bodily sensation. Let's say your leg is itching, so you feel an itch. Yes. And you go to that sensation. What do you find? It's hard to really put your finger on what it is. And yeah, it's true, we call it an itch, but I mean, we call it an itch just for communication purposes, for language, but when you go to turn your attention to a sensation like that, for example, I don't know what you find. Like, it's hard to say what you find. Let's say that you find some fuzzy something happening around your knee or your leg, and before the thought arises, oh my goodness, what's happening to me, or am I getting poison ivy, or before you, a story, a me story starts to get constructed. When it starts to appear, it's a sensation. So I say it's a neutral sensation, meaning it hasn't yet, there is no story that has yet been attached to it. There is no story that has grabbed it yet. And then when a story arises, says, oh my goodness, this keeps happening to me. Why is this happening to me? It's not happening to my cousin. It's not happening to my father, whatever. Then the sensation becomes like sort of like personal experience. It gets a person attached to it with a story, and it ceases to become like when you look at the sky. You may see a cloud. It has some weird shape, whatever shape it has. You don't feel one way or the other about it. Doesn't matter, really. You look up at the sky, 5 minutes later, it has a different shape, or it's a different cloud, whatever. But you don't feel one way or the other about it. It's completely neutral to you. This appearance, this event, is completely neutral. At the body level, there are sensations happening all the time. Like right now, there are sensations of, your feet on the ground, blood flow, warmth in your body, is a glow in your face, etc. There are a variety, many more sensations that we can that we could actually recognize, and all of them are happening incessantly. And before any of these sensations gets some personal identification with it, it's neutral. It's like you hear a sound, you hear a horn, a car, or a bird whistling. The sound is a neutral experience. You haven't said yes. You haven't said yet already. It's like, oh, I'm so great to have all these birds. They love me. They come to me and they sing for me because I am endowed with certain fragrance, and the birds recognize how godly I am, and they come to sing for me. You haven't made the story. You see, you're just enjoying the singing of the bird. And so, I'm not saying that every bodily sensation is enjoyable. Like a toothache, for example, is not enjoyable, but it is also a neutral sensation. It is an event happening somewhere in your awareness, yes, to the body, and it's bringing your attention to go to the dentist or to gargle with some warm, salty water. I find that's sometimes really good. If you could try it, if you ever have like a toothache, try that. Take some lukewarm water, put a little salt in it, and gargle a little bit. It may soothe the toothache. Anyways, it does that for me. So all sensations at their purest level are neutral. And then when we add a me story to it, me and him, me and time, why is this happening to me, etc., then it becomes a feeling. So in looking at what happens to you at the feeling level, it's possible that you can notice that there are two dimensions to the feeling. There is a bodily dimension, a sensation, maybe in your chest or your face. And then there is a story. A story, why do they do this to me all the time? I'm a good guy and they're the schmucks, they keep doing this to me, you see, or this. And that story is turns the neutral sensation into a feeling and even like a slight emotion. So if you can notice those two elements in your experience and neutralize the story meaning recognize that there is a story going on and that's not necessary. First, it's not true, because oftentimes we don't even know what the other person is thinking, or we don't know what's happening. We don't know. Really, we don't know. But we project. We project what people are thinking about us. What we project from their demeanor. Oh, they didn't smile at us, or we do a lot of projection, and it's pretty miserable because it separates the inseparable. It creates a schism where in fact there is a wholeness. So you start to become mistrustful of these stories. The stories about me, the stories about him or her. You start to mistrust these stories. And at some point, your interest in them start to diminish. And as your interest in the stories start to diminish, the peace of presence increases, becomes more available to us because we are not polluting it with all this nonsense. You see? Lots of stories are also about ourselves, not just about others, about me. You know, stories about me. I am like this, I'm like that. These are stories. It's not true. Because every description you make of yourself is a limitation. Because you're saying, I am, like this, or I am like that. While in fact you may be so much more. You may be beyond these descriptions, beyond the limitation of any description. And so you wipe the slate clean, moment by moment. You say, that may not be true. It's limiting. This simple thought, this simple identification that I'm giving myself is limiting me. It's not the happiness. Because we're not interested in a limited happiness. Because what's the point of a limited happiness? Then we can't step out of those boundaries. We're happy here, from here to here, but beyond that, no. No, we interested in the boundaryless happiness. So no definition, no self-definition, no definitions of others, none of that. So then presence is just an open space of being, of peace, of freedom. And we can appreciate everything we're experiencing from a fresh, not knowing, and not knowingness. Not knowing is very beautiful, because there is freedom in not knowing. There's a freedom because nothing has been pinned down by the mind, and nothing has been narrowed down yet. It remains free and open. So we say yes to that. We say yes to the beauty, to the freedom, to the innate peace, the innate joy, the open heart. So it's already there. So we say yes to that. And we're very forgiving with ourselves and with others too, because heck, it's no one is perfect, So we're forgiving with ourselves and with others. That happens. Okay, so what? So what if I was judgmental and I judged myself or I judged somebody else? So what? It's not the end of the world. But we can also let it go. We can say, okay, fine, I recognize that, so what? We don't carry it, we don't carry it with us. The guilt, that guilt, that's a heavy burden, because it's looking at the past, and it's assuming that that I was like willfully sort of doing these bad things. But that's not true. Many times, actually most of the time, we are not willful. It's just something arises for us, we feel threatened, and we strike. And then realize, oh goodness, how foolish it was. But okay, it's done, so what? So there's a forgiveness in that, in forgiveness for forgetfulness and letting go, so we can travel unburdened. We don't carry anything with us. Anyways, Isaac, I'm going way beyond the scope of your question. I think so. So it's always beautiful to be talking with you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Hello, Lee. Lee,
Hi.
Hey, hi. You write good, very good, good. Just
I have a question relating to the neutral sensations when we
yes,
feel our feelings.
yes,
Wait a minute. My camera's off, right?
yes. Your camera is off right now.
Huh. Anyway,
Okay.
here we go.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, what I've been doing a lot lately, as you know, per your instruction, is if an emotion comes up, a strong emotion, or even a feeling, or a judgment, or thinking I'm being judged, or anything like that, I'm noticing the feeling, and going to the feeling, like not really following the thought. I'm going straight to the feeling, or the sensation in the body, as you said.
Yes, yes.
And actually, when I do that, it is a very neutral sensation. It's almost like that's not the feeling I had. I go to the sensation in my body, and it's like, okay, the feeling I had is gone. So without the story, that feeling that I thought I had is gone. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm questioning, maybe that thought itself has a little bit of energetical feeling emotion to it, because the sensation in the body is neutral.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
when I just do that, I have no issue with what I was just thinking.
Yes, yes, yes. And
so it has its own energetical emotion to the thought itself.
Yes, yes. Right, like a thought, God, I hate this or that, when the thought, sometimes even before we've experienced something, we think about it and we're feeling it. Like, for example, the other day I was, Tara made this fruit bowl for me, salad and fruit bowl, and she put some pieces of orange, in there, and so when I saw the orange in the salad, the small pieces of orange, I hadn't even tasted them, right?
Right.
But there was a thought of, oh, I don't like the tanginess of the orange, the tanginess of the orange. And when that thought arose, I felt, I felt like, I don't know, like a
resistance.
Yes, something was right. A resistance I hadn't even tasted the orange,
right?
But the thought itself triggered that
internal feeling.
Says yes. That yeah, a thought. The thoughts, especially the ones. I mean, in this case, the example I am giving, the way I'm looking at it is like there's a body memory about certain events, like when I eat tangy foods, and the body remembers
And it
that,
tenses up a little bit.
yeah, right. Some different bodies are different. Some they can eat a lemon,
Right.
even the thought of that is making me. So there is a body memory, and that's sort of okay. It's at the physiological level.
Right.
But then there are thoughts that have a me story memory.
Yeah.
They carry some residues from past identifications where somebody maybe aggressed me or mistreated me, and so there is a certain psychological memory in the body mind about this person. And of course, in some cases, it's a wise thing, because there may have been some people in your life that are dangerous. But otherwise, these memories, these thoughts, they trigger a certain internal reaction in the body mind.
Yes.
And there are we define ourselves through a series of stories, and some are complex stories, some are smaller events, but the whole body of them, of memories and past events that we have we've perceived them as happening to me, and they've become part of the me structure. So there's there is a me structure that we're feeling, and we feel it in our body, that is connected to an identification that is not happening just at this moment, because in the moment there is really no time for identification. But there is a whole body of identification that we our past, that we drag along with us. Imagine, that'd be interesting to try to imagine that you can be in this moment without any past. Imagine that. That would be interesting, because okay, I don't mean like, okay, you forget your name. I say hello, Lee, and you don't know who it is. No, I mean that you don't have that psychological past.
Yep.
So then there is a freshness right now. And of course, if I come at you, to punch you, you're gonna react. You're gonna defend yourself, run, or punch me back, whatever. But there isn't a me history and a me story. So there is a purity in the relationship, a pure simplicity and directness in the relationship. And there is intelligence. The intelligence says, duck when somebody's punching at you. And it says, you say hello to somebody who's right there saying hello to you. It's so simple. So coming back to what you were saying about the thoughts, that the story are carried in those thoughts. And there may be one trigger thought that will bring an entire storyline. I have a very, very interesting example. I think I shared it once. I was sitting in a group years ago, and so we sit around like sort of in a circle. And there was this one person to my right. She was to my right, a couple of people away. And I had never met this person before. It was the first time she had come to the group. and it was a group led by some other people. But I felt something bothering me about this person. And anytime she said something, it was like, you know, it was really hard to pin it down, but it was very uncomfortable. And I was just like wondering, like, what is going on, you see? What's going on? And at some point in the meeting, there was this flash, you know, it just happened, you know, flash. I don't know where it came from, but it was a flash. She reminded me of my aunt. At the time, I had not recognized that, but when I had that flash, I saw my aunt, and I had some issues with her when I was much younger. And in that moment, I recognized, oh, wow, that's what's happening. And the whole thing dropped. My entire resistance to this person, in a second, dropped.
Nice.
It was gone. It was gone.
Right.
I'm sharing that because that whole package was somewhere, obviously. That whole historical package that I had totally forgotten about it.
Yeah.
But it was still somewhere. There was some sort of a residual identification somewhere in the space that got triggered there, and it was an opportunity to see it, and it dissolved away.
Right.
So yes, if you can sort of see that there are stories. When you start to see the story in a way, it loses its power.
Yeah. And that's what's happening. I mean, I'm seeing this story, then I'm going to the feeling. The story's gone.
Yeah.
But the story does come back, a similar story. So,
yeah.
But it's weird because when I go to the sensation in the body, again, it doesn't even feel anything related to the story itself.
Yes.
Completely unrelated. So that's kind of what I'm exploring right now.
Yeah. And what's like really amazing about this is that, like, at some point, because your interest is not in the stories, at some point they sort of start to sort of diminish in their. But your lack of interest in the story has to be genuine. It's like, really, who the heck cares about it, really?
Yeah.
Who the heck cares about, you know, the past? In a way, the past is a story. It's a current thought that we're having. It's, you know, it's a current story, what we call the past.
Yep.
But so in a way, when our this loss of interest or disinterest, disinterest, is that a correct word?
Yes, disinterest.
When our disinterest in the stories become genuine and deepens, then why would those stories continue to arise? They will arise less and less because we're not interested in them, you see.
Yes.
We're not, when they arise, we go, okay, boom, see you later, okay?
Right.
So then, even at the sensation level, at the sensation level, that also becomes relieved. Even there is like a transparency that also, a certain release that also occurs at the physiology level.
Yeah.
And then, you know, some things may arise, but we quickly see them. Because we see them as, you know, okay, thought arising, and we turn attention to the body. We don't turn attention to the story.
Right.
We turn attention to the sensation, and we allow it. We allow it, meaning we just present, just present and more and more present and more and more present, just completely present and more present, as just you stay with being present. And so, but present is not like I am present, it's just presence, you know. So the presence is a vastness to it, so you experiment with that.
Yeah, it's like an inner resource almost.
Yes. Absolutely, yes. I think so. I think it's an
You're
inner
starting to get a taste of that resource.
Yeah,
And, even if it's a little bit, it's a very comforting type of resource.
yes,
And it's
yes,
not, not the me and not the story. So,
yes, yes,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yes, yes. And presence, in a way, like we use the word presence, but we know it because we are this presence. So presence is like, in a way, you could say that the truth or reality is presence.
Yep.
The presence is, but that's beyond the doubt,
Yes.
It's beyond the doubt. Presence is. And
Okay, thank you very much, Magdi.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Yes. Okay.
Hi, Magdi.
Yes. Hello, John.
Hi. Is the sound okay? I know the last couple of times it's been very noisy. I heard it on YouTube later. Is it okay right now?
It's still noisy.
Oh, is it? Okay. Maybe I'll get off then and I'll see if I can type something. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, if there are any questions. So, if there are any questions, anyone?
Michael's trying to ask a question, Magdi,
Oh, he is?
but he's typing it in the Hangout chat.
Mm-hmm. I don't see it.
Probably copy and paste it if you want me to.
Yeah, why don't you? Because I don't see it.
Okay.
Michael, can you hear me? Ananda? Oh. Okay. I don't think that Ananda can even hear me.
That's from Michael.
Okay. Can you somehow ask Michael if he can hear me?
He says he hears you.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, it's okay.
But
if he hears me, that's good. But
yeah.
So, okay, Ananda, I'm glad that you can hear me. As of yet, I don't hear you, but maybe I will. Let me see. Let me see if there's something I can do here. You are muted. So, but I did not mute you. I think maybe you are muted on your side, Ananda. Okay, and Tara cannot hear you either, Ananda. So I have a feeling that somehow on your end, you need to unmute yourself. So I'm going to read what Lee wrote on your behalf. I noticed that there is not much difference between states lately. Now there is not going to video. Want me to type in chat box. I don't feel much difference whether dreaming or waking. Okay. Yeah, all right. The difference between states, yes. At some point, Ananda, everything merges into the self. And yes, it's only the self. Right, there are no differences. That's good. I don't have much to say about that, but I hear you. At the self level, it's wholeness. So I am the person, then I am consciousness experiencing the world, but there is still a me sensation, and then I am the world. Everything is the self. I am the self, and everything is the self. And then there are no more differences. There are no differences. It's the end of the mind, the separative mind. It's the end of the separative mind.
Michael said he heard you, and he says thanks, Magdi.
Okay. Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Okay. There is a progressive dissolution in our contemplation, a progressive dissolution of ignorance, and an expansion of the state of happiness. I say the state of happiness, I should say an expansion of happiness. It's like the light of consciousness shining more and more. At some point, it's all peace and happiness and love, beauty. It's really the end of the separative mind. So the contemplation of the self has that direction in a way, Sahaja Samadhi, which is beyond all states. It's a dissolution that out of which there is no more return. Actually, the entire contemplation of the self has no return. Is sort of, you cannot return to, you cannot regress. There may be some old tendencies that may appear, but they are appearing to dissolve. You don't go back. You don't go from the insights that you have and then they dissolve and they lose their effect. That's not how it works. And it's important to continue your contemplation because it's well, speaking for myself, it's the ultimate passion, the ultimate love. And you stay with it, you continue to give it the time that it needs. In a way, it sort of requires more and more of you. And then at some point, it requires less and less of you. And at some point, it doesn't require you anymore. It's sort of uninterrupted contemplation. Without a contemplator. So the self revealing in itself. But until the self reveals in itself, you continue to favor the contemplation and what has been revealed to you. Because there are revelations of insight. You have to apply them in your life. Even when you get triggered, or maybe especially when you get triggered. Any other questions from anybody? Okay, well, thank you very much for your lovely company, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you very much, Meg.
Okay,
Beautiful.
thank you, Lee. Thank you, Isaac, John, Maria, Ananda, Nikki, and very beautiful to be with you.